once I have created that contract, what do I need to make sure I have in there? And then I also want to dive into how do I make sure that all my bases are covered as far as my sales team going over this contract with my potential clients and making sure that that's been done well.
So, like you said, having a contract is your first step. Each contract needs to have provisions in there, the language in there that is protective of your company and of your business interest, right? Each business, even though we're all roofers, we're all in the restoration industry, we are all contractors, we may have different business tactics. So we want to incorporate that into our contract. Like your example before, putting the notice of intent to lien. A lot of contracts don't have that unless legally they're required to do it. Go ahead and add it to your contract and explain and educate and require your sales team to have that conversation with the homeowner. But let's talk about contracts within the restoration industry. So we have, the contract. It needs to have its terms and conditions that are specific to your business, and a lot of them are also very standard, you know payment terms, indemnification, termination rights, things of that nature, which are in every single contract. However, something that we need to be mindful of is that the 3 days notice of cancellation, and in some states it's even more than 3 days notice of cancellation, also known right of recession. I like to call it buyer's remorse. And you have to have this in the contract. So in Michigan, the notice of cancellation, we copy pasted from the statutory language again. It needs to be in bold. It needs to be in duplicate copy, and it needs to be minimum of font 10 and in the same language as the contract. So if your contract is in Spanish, you need to have the notice of cancellation translated into Spanish as well. So those are really important, and they fall into the consumer protection laws that are afforded to homeowners for their protection, so that they're not taken advantage by contractors and other trades that do work in their home. And then there's also the statutory language for lien rights, informing the homeowner that you as a contractor have right to lien their house if the contractor doesn't get paid for their work. So things of that nature must be in there. So we have to review each contract with respect to the state laws, make sure the statutory language within the state requirements are in the contract, and the remainder of the contract is your own terms and conditions, which consist of the typical terms and conditions and the additional language we want to add in for our protective that is based on our businesses, experiences, previous lawsuits, previous collection matters, and things of that nature.
How important is it that either myself or even maybe have my attorney work with my team on how do I effectively present a contract to a homeowner and make sure that that we're going over the things that we have to go over and that we're you know phrasing things correctly, because that's probably a source of contention as well, where yeah, I did sign this, but you didn't actually tell me it, or it wasn't in the correct font or whatever. Like, how important is it that we present contracts well when we're doing these things?
I think it's very important. I think as a consumer, I really appreciate you, the sales guy, on behalf of a contractor, coming to my house and taking the time to review the contract and not just throwing it at me and saying, "Hey, Yasmin, if you want your house if you want your house to be taken care of, you want me to board up your house or whatever the emergency situation is, just sign this." Well, okay, I'll probably will sign it, but I'm not gonna like it. Versus if you come to me and you go through each provision, and not every single provision, but the important provisions that are going to affect the homeowner in the long run. And for you as a salesperson to know how to present that, you have to, one, read the contract, right? That's another issue I see. People don't even, like, employees of companies don't even have never read the contract. Like, no, read the contract, ask questions, because the questions you have from your perspective of reading contract is going to be the same as homeowners. It's going to be the same as a customer who's going to sign this contract. Ask those questions. Let's clarify it. Let's close any gaps between your understanding and what the contract says. And could I train? Of course, I can come in and train your entire sales team, and I've done that many of times. It helps hearing it from me in a non-legal term, because contracts are very legalese. So I sit here and I go through it with you guys. I'm talking through the contract terms because I'm explaining to you what each provision means for you to understand, so you can copy what I'm saying to the homeowner, or I can give you an instruction sheet of what each provision means in quote unquote layman terms. So we can do all of that, but it's important to, one, have your team read the contract, and two, ask questions. And maybe only one person needs to sit with me and understand the contract, and then they can educate their team and train their team, right? It's however you guys want to operate your business. It's up to you, but everybody needs to have read the contract.